It is 6 p.m. Monday, August 7th. I will call to order the Winooski Liquor Control Board meeting. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Deputy Mayor Thomas Brenner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Jenny, would you like to join us? So first up, we have Mountain Valley Restaurant application.
Good evening. So this is an annual renewal of the restaurant application for this establishment.
Any comments or concerns from staff? Any questions or comments from council? I don't think we have anyone here from that organization. Okay. Hearing no concerns, would someone like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Thomas, second by Charlie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up is the Hickocken River LLC, formerly known as Chick's Market, second-class liquor license and tobacco license.
Yes, so this was Chick's Market was a previously approved liquor license application, but because there's a new owner, they have to apply. And if you want to come up, she's just going to talk a little bit about Chick's Market.
Welcome, thanks for joining us. If you want to
Yes,
introduce
thank you.
yourself.
I'm Michelle Sharon, and I'm the supervisor for the new store. I manage a different store, but we'll supervise this store.
Welcome to Winooski.
Thank you.
Folks are excited to see Chick's Market continue on.
Yes, it's a great little store.
Is there anything you want to share with us, or we can see if there's any council questions?
No, again, the community really loves that organization, that business, and the location, and so really excited to see it continue.
No concerns from staff? All right, do I have a motion to approve Hickocken River liquor and tobacco licenses?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Brent, second by Aurora. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And then finally, we have Southern Smoke Foods First Class Caterer Renewal.
Yes, this is also a renewal that was just submitted, and this is a caterer first class for all off-premise events.
No concerns?
No.
No one here from there? Okay. Any questions from council?
No.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Thomas, second by Bryn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
That is the end of our Liquor Control Board meeting agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Thomas, second by Charlie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. So I've got 6:03 p.m. calling to order the Winooski City Council meeting. First up is agenda review. Any concerns about tonight's agenda?
Nope.
All right. Public comment. I think we do have public. Are you here for public comment? Please join us at the table if you can introduce yourself and then share what you have to share.
Sure. Yeah, hi, my name's Kristen Lawson, and I'm a resident of Winooski, and I just wanted to bring up my concerns about the safety of crosswalks in our city. I don't feel like our city is very pedestrian friendly all the time, and I have a lot of concerns, but I just wanted to bring up crosswalk striping as we're getting into school starting in a couple of weeks, and especially the Mallett's Bay crosswalks where traffic is really fast through there, and also the crosswalks on Main Street, because I know a lot of children use those, and it's not just for the children, but for all of the residents of Winooski. So I'd just like to say that I think it's really important that we stripe them soon and have in the budget money to continue striping them so we don't end up with unstriped crosswalks where we are today.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. It's nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
You had also emailed us. If I could ask our Public Works Director, John Rauscher, to share for the benefit of the public our timeline on crosswalks.
Sure.
Hey everyone.
Welcome, John.
Yeah, welcome. Kristen, nice to see you virtually. So yeah, just an update on citywide line striping. So we've had a contract with a vendor since October to repaint the whole city for the most part. So all the main corridors, including Mallets Bay and the crosswalks you mentioned. As I mentioned in some of the correspondence we've had, a couple of the main issues. One, there's basically one contractor in Vermont that does all lane striping. So that's been challenging, especially this summer, given all the rain we've had. So initially they were supposed to be done in June. But unfortunately with the weather, they're looking at completing the work, all the city work this month, starting August 21st. And that is very weather pending. So we basically bug them weekly just to see where they're at. So that's kind of where we stand right now. And obviously, like, we knew that this was been an issue for the last couple of years. It started off when we had the pandemic and we couldn't even get paint to do painting work, even if we wanted to do it ourselves with in-house staff. And then, given all the paint work that was needed, we had to bring on a contractor to do all that. And our intention is to keep annually have a budget for that work to do all of the corridors, because you've probably seen on East Allen. There's a lot more crosswalks in East Allen, a lot more striping, a lot more bike lanes. So we have to keep on top of that. Main Street's going to be the same way with the Main Street Revitalization Project. We're going to add quite a bit more crosswalks along the whole corridor and an uphill climbing bike lane. So that's going to really require us to have an annual contract budgeted so that that striping works remains freshed up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Did you have any follow-up questions or?
I wanted to just say a few things. I just wanted to say that I'm here in support of that, and that I'm new here in Winooski, and I care very much about this community, and I am appalled that at the lack of crosswalks, and I understand the situation now much more clearly, but I really do hope that in the future that crosswalk painting is a yearly thing for everybody in the city, not just the kids. It's very important for the kids going to school, but also for older folks, folks in wheelchairs, and even just regular folks that can walk, not regular folks, but folks that can walk around regular. So I just wanted to offer my support to the city and to this organization. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for coming in. This is a great thing to hear about now before, I think, early October, we do goal setting for the annual budget process. So appreciate you guys reaching out.
Yeah, and I think whatever we can do to make sure that, it's one thing to work towards having new infrastructure, but we also need to make sure we can take care of the infrastructure we have, because then we're just back to square one where we have to start all over again. So
Yeah.
I do think it's really important to get that in the budget.
All right. And please make sure you signed in.
Okay.
Jenny can help you.
Okay.
We log the public comments for the public record.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I think we have some public comment in attendance on Zoom as well.
Do Mayor Law. Let's start with Laura Wade.
Hi, thanks so much. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, I just wanted to voice my concern as well, and just kind of reiterate what Kristen was saying, what the other guest was saying as well, just kind of time sensitive with the kids heading back to school, and just trying to get those crosswalks maybe on priority for your painting schedule. And also wondering if there's a possibility to throw out some of those, yield or caution cones that say that, it is a state law to yield to pedestrians, not just along Main Street and Mallett's Bay, but also in the Rotary if possible. I think a lot of folks visiting our state do not know that. So that would be just my request, that we can kind of support before the painting actually happens. And that's it.
Thank you,
you.
Laura. John, you can take a note of that for consideration.
All right, next up we have Representative Daisy Brubeco is with us.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, welcome, Daisy.
Hi. Thanks so much for taking this issue up. I'm calling in actually as a parent and community member and just in support of prioritizing the area, especially up by the school. As a parent that walks my kids to school and picks them up every day, I just can't underscore enough the importance of getting those crosswalks painted ASAP. There are so many hundreds of kids that I worry about every day, not just my own, in walking around our community. And I think we have a responsibility to families to prioritize that area. And also I want to echo Laura Wade's comment about it being state law to yield to pedestrians. And I think we need to be cognizant of that around the Rotary as well. There's a lot of us who love and adore that area of the city, but we need to be mindful of safety too. So thank you so much for letting us have space to talk about this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And next we have Terry. Terry, go for it.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome, Terry.
Great, thank you. Hi. So I'm here for something different, actually. I was not able to attend the last city council meeting on the 17th of July, but I did listen because I know that you were discussing the proposed amendments to the land use and development regulations from the Planning Commission.
Yep.
And a couple of things that stood out for me after listening to that meeting. First of all, when these amendments were introduced, the council had asked the zoning administrator if any of the commissioners had any expertise in the area of parking. And I wanted to just come and say that there are two members on the Planning Commission who've been on there for several years. I used to be on the Planning Commission, and I sat on there as a commissioner with two of them who remain on the commission, one of whom has been involved on the board, I believe, or as a commissioner with CCRPC for over 20 years. So I believe that might be some little bit of expertise in the area of parking. There's also another member of the Planning Commission who has a master's degree in urban planning and works as a sustainable transportation program manager. So another person who I think would have some area of expertise in parking. And then the counselor went on to suggest some changes to the minimum parking standards and changes that from the proposal that the Planning Commission had proposed. And I'm just curious what the expertise is of the members on the city council have, and this counselor in particular, in the area of parking, since that seemed to be something that was a concern. That's my first question.
Terry, I believe what you're referring to was suggestions that Councilor Renner made related to the best practices for parking that are shared at a state level through zoning for great neighborhoods.
I don't specifically remember that wording being used. I just remember...
It wasn't specifically called out in the meeting. You're correct.
So again, my question is, since they were calling, the counselors are calling out the members of the Planning Commission who are volunteers who spent over a year working on this, and then called out the Planning Commission and asked if anybody had expertise. I'm just curious if that person who made these suggestions has any expertise in the area of parking, or if somebody else on the council has that expertise.
I don't believe that members of the planning commission were called out. I think the question was what information was used to make these recommendations. And the council was looking for some of that background context.
I think actually, Mayor, I'm sorry to disagree with you, but I think if you go back and listen, because I listened to the meeting twice, I was actually shocked that the council would just question the integrity of a commission that is appointed by the council and also does have quite a bit of experience and has been on the planning commission for many years. It was just shocking to me. So I'm not gonna continue to go back and forth with you, but I think if you go and listen to that meeting again, you will hear that they specifically asked if anybody had any expertise in the area of parking, and I'm just bringing that up because I would like to know if anybody on the council does. And you don't have to answer that. You can go back and listen to the recording. I just wanted to put it on the record. And I would also like to say that I was on the commission for many years. Part of the reason I stepped down is because I felt like a lot of the work that we did wasn't respected. And I was part of the discussion around parking reduction quite a while ago while I was still on the commission, and I continue to occasionally attend meetings. And I know that the Planning Commission spent a significant amount of time thoughtfully discussing and carefully considering what to do about parking minimums and reduction of parking minimums. So I'm a little bit astounded that the City Council would suggest that these amendments aren't sufficient. And I'm also wondering why the city even has a Planning Commission if the work that they do is just like disregarded. So I don't expect an answer about that, but I want it to be on the public record. I would also like to talk about a Planning Commission meeting on May 11th, 2023, where 8 citizens of Winooski and 1 developer did come to speak during public comment when they were talking about parking. And the citizens who attended spoke about how new development has affected the streets they live on and expressed concerns around public property being used for public vehicle storage. So eight members of the community came to that meeting that night. And unfortunately, I couldn't find a recording online, so I don't know that there's any recording. I did look at the minutes, and it is indicated that there were 8 members of the public, and just that there were concerns, but that was all. So I just want to put that out there also, that this is something that the public, if 8 people attend a meeting, we all know that not a lot of people come to meetings. I think it's worth listening to the members of the community. So thank you for your time. I appreciate being able to speak, and I hope that when there's a public hearing next month about this, that the council will consider what the residents want and not just what the council wants.
Terry, thank you for the feedback about how the conversation came off. There was a follow-up discussion with staff to request more information based on the questions that came up during that meeting, which will be shared at that public hearing. I believe it is September 5th. And we had chose to host that meeting, keeping the item on for discussion only so that we could spend time reflecting on any feedback we do get from residents before we take action on those changes.
All right, great. Well, thank you.
Do we have anyone else signed up, Paul?
No other signups.
Laura, I see your hand is still raised. Did you have a comment still?
Oh, I do. I forgot a couple things. So just to go back to the crosswalk discussion, just a few more requests if you are still waiting to do the painting, is that there's nowhere near the school that says school zone. I've crossed there several times with my kiddo, and cars who have stopped for us thankfully, did not know it was a school. Like, we've had discussions through the open window about it. So I just would request that. Second thing I would request is that the Norman Street crossing, right where the bus stop is, that definitely get painted. I've talked about that in the past, and was told that all the crossings should be happening at Tegan Street, where there's a light and a crossing guard, but the majority of the kids that are going are heading south on Main Street, and it just is like it's just the flow. And so I would really request that there be a priority to that particular crosswalk there. And then another request just for, in the budget, to get those flashing pedestrian signs that they have at the bottom of Main Street heading into Burlington. I think it's very effective, and I would really, really push for having those at all the major crosswalks, definitely in the Rotary, like at every single crosswalk in the Rotary, but also at those very crucial and critical points on Main Street and Mallett's Bay. And that is all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the suggestions, Laura, and for calling out the signage. If anyone is didn't pre-sign up but wanted to make public comment now, you could just use the raise hand or chat feature. Okay. Thank you all. We are moving to our consent agenda. So I will call out, we need to pull out the commission appointments because there has been one change since this was posted. So we'll move that into regular items. Otherwise, we have our council minutes from July 17th, payroll warrant for July 9 to 22, accounts payable July 19 and August 3rd, Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission alternate appointment, and Community College of Vermont parking contract amendment. Are there any questions or comments from council on consent agenda items?
Christine, there's also August 4th for accounts payable.
For which one?
Accounts payable.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
And August 4th, thank you. Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Thomas. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Council reports. Can I start with you, Charlie?
So at the most recent Housing Commission meeting, we debated the practicality of the Winooski Housing Trust continuing to offer down payment assistance versus offering a graduated interest reduction program through opportunities. We didn't come to a final determination on that, but it's something that we're discussing in an ongoing way. We also overviewed the Housing Initiative Director's work plan alongside the city's priorities and strategies as laid out during May's Priorities and Strategies meeting. Commission Chair, the Initiatives Director, and I will meet on Wednesday the 9th to determine the next agenda for the meeting that will occur on August 22nd at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Downtown Winooski has a new event. Its first day is going to be tomorrow, actually. It is bingo with a twist, so it's blingo. And that will be at Waterworks from 6 to 8 p.m. And then it's going to continue for I believe, Tuesdays of, actually no, take that back. Just a few Tuesdays in the upcoming month. So August 15th, August 22nd, and August 29th. If you can make it tomorrow at Waterworks, you are encouraged to wear funky flair. And then also, Downtown Winooski is currently in the planning stages of Winooski's Pride celebration. This year we were doing our first Pride Parade, which we're very excited about. And we're looking, September 9th is going to be the day that we celebrate Pride here in Winooski. If you are interested in volunteering or partaking in any other way, please email Downtown Winooski. You can go to their website at downtownwinooski.org. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to let you all know that I was able to meet with the new superintendent of the school district who just started last month, and we'll be resuming a quarterly meeting with city manager, myself, superintendent, and the school board chair. We'll be having a meeting in September to plan for the October 11th when we join the Winooski School Board meeting for our annual joint meeting. And our city manager and the superintendent have resumed weekly meetings that were happening in the previous structure as well. Yeah. There was no Finance Commission meeting last month. There is a meeting tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. It's hybrid, City Hall or online. We will be receiving input from them on the proposed sidewalk changes, which we saw in the spring and will be coming back to us in a future meeting soon. These were the changes around sidewalk usage near the Rotary to address safety concerns. The Planning Commission meets this Thursday. So they've been discussing this design review district. This would add a layer of review for projects instead of just going through, if you meet the administrative requirements, being approved. A design review district is structured to add a board, a design review board layer of review for any demolition, development, or significant changes to existing structures. It's intended to support historic preservation. So at the meeting on Thursday, the discussion is about what that district would be. It would be not the entire city, but a subset of the city where there's concern about preserving historic structures. That meeting is 6:30 p.m. on Thursday through Zoom. And then my monthly housing roundtable group is meeting on Friday. Our goal for this month is to collect perspective from housing providers and support organizations working in Winooski that we can share with the Housing Commission and Initiative Director to inform those priorities. That's it for me.
The Municipal Infrastructure Commission did not meet in July. We took a break while we recruited some additional commissioners, which are on the agenda for tonight. We had a great amount of interest. It was really exciting to see how many folks wanted to participate in the commission and participate in the conversation. And we have two regular seats and 2 alternates, so we'll be filling at least 3 of those tonight. But for anyone that has interest, there are spaces in other commissions, I believe, that still need some commissioners. So feel free to reach out to me or to any of the other counselors for more information on that. City staff as well, of course. Our next meeting, now that we'll have a full slate of commissioners, will be Thursday, August 17th. That will be hybrid as well. It'll be at 6:30. We usually meet in the pool room up at Myers Memorial Pool. And we're able to offer a hybrid option, an online option, which is really nice to add that in as well. We don't have an agenda yet. I'm not sure if the CCRPC is ready to discuss the next steps or stages of the Love Fountain Dion Street scoping, but that could be on this month's, and if not, it'll primarily be orientation and getting others up to speed. Chittenden Solid Waste District, their next full board meeting this month, usually it's the 4th Wednesday, and it's going to be the 3rd Wednesday, so August 16th. I have not seen an agenda for that yet. And Airport Commission met on August 1st. There were no significant updates for housing, the sound insulation work. It looks like there will be a number of homes in Winooski that are able to get some housing, some sound insulation. We're not sure yet on where those will be just yet, but more information to come. So it's exciting because those will be, I think, the first that will be.
Yeah, we haven't had it yet.
Yeah. Also, the noise exposure map update. They have a consultant secured for that work, and we'll be reconvening a technical committee as well as a regional committee, probably later this fall or winter. They anticipate having a first public meeting in middle of September, and I believe that'll be at Chamberlain Elementary. So TBD on the date and time just yet, but middle of September is what I'm told. So we'll get more information about hybrid opportunities as well as any translation services. So I haven't gotten more information than that at this point. Their next meeting is September 6th. And the bridge, Winooski Bridge, development and scoping, planning and scoping, will be kicking off a committee meeting at the end of this month. The date hasn't been finalized yet.
Which you will be serving on.
Correct.
Aurora.
All right, so we don't have a Safe, Healthy, Connected People meeting for the month of August. This is an even month, so we do have an Inclusion and Belonging Commission meeting. That will be this Thursday at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And the Inclusion and Belonging Commission is a commission that is still looking for new members. We have 2 open regular seats and 2 open alternate seats. So please feel free to either reach out to myself or Jenny Willingham if you are interested in more information about that.
Yeah, inclusion, belonging, finance. Is Safe, Healthy, Connected People still looking?
I believe there might be.
We'll do an update. Thank you. Okay, moving on to city updates. Elaine.
Yes, so Winooski Finance Commission is looking for new members. We're looking for engaged and dedicated residents to serve on the Finance Commission. If you're interested in or want to learn more about the city's finances and economic vitality, so some topics might include budgets, financial policies, grants, and loan programs. This is the place. So if you can look to connect with your neighbors and get involved in the public process, this is a good opportunity. Applicants with related experience, skill sets, and interests are encouraged to apply. You can visit the news update section at winooskivt.gov to learn more. Council and staff do welcome diverse voices. If you've never served, we will do your best to support you. Utility and tax payments are due August 15th. That will be property tax, water, and sewer payments. That's a Tuesday. Payments can be made online at winooskivt.gov/pay or by cash or check or credit card in person at Winooski City Hall at 27 West Allen Street. The city clerk's office will be open on Tuesday, August 15th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Normally it is closed on Tuesdays, but because that's tax day and there's a holiday in the vicinity, we wanted to make sure that we had some more hours available than usual. Residents may also use the after-hours drop box located just to the right of the entrance. And postmarks will not be considered on-time payments, as a reminder. Finally, expiring free COVID test kits. So we do have a supply of them. They're expiring September 30th. But if you anticipate having a need in the meantime, please feel free to come and stock up at City Hall, the Winooski Senior Center, or the Winooski Memorial Library. Just ask during your next visit.
All right, thank you. Moving into regular items, so we had to pull consent item E, commission appointments. So we have 1 appointment for finance. I think there were 3 for municipal infrastructure. However, the recommended 1-year alternate position had to pull out. So just looking for open meeting law, pull that out because we need to make a motion to approve this with the removal of that applicant. Any questions or concerns from council? Okay, can I have a motion to approve commission appointments for finance and municipal infrastructure, except for the 1-year alternate position?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bryn, second by Charlie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. So next we are on to item A in our regular items, budget adjustment for code enforcement. Angela.
Went so many years without having to do these, but so for fiscal year 24, code enforcement officers were budgeted in Department 24, which is the Fire and Code Department. We have been having issues recruiting for a 30-hour-a-week full-time position, so the decision was made to make the remaining full-time employee 40 hours a week and fill the remaining 20 hours of code enforcement time with part-time staff, making those evening and weekend positions. There was discussion regarding the supervising of those positions, since the fire department supervisory staff is not usually here in evenings and weekends. So the decision was made to shift the supervisory responsibility to the police department. So in order to show that budgetarily, we are requesting moving the salary and benefits related to those positions from Department 24 Fire and Code to Department 30 for the police. This has to come to City Council as a budget adjustment because we are changing the type of spending that we are doing from fire and public safety to police public safety.
It is cost neutral, however, though, correct?
All budget adjustments are always neutral.
Thank you for the context. Any questions from council?
I have a question. Does moving this position have any impact on future negotiations, union negotiations?
Currently, this position is going to remain in AFSCME. There has been some inquiries, but I haven't heard anything official about changing union negotiations. This would actually consolidate the number of people who are usually involved in a union negotiation. It would be the police department person who's also involved in FOP negotiations, so actually reducing the number of people at the table.
Okay.
So it does sound like there's one current staff,
Yes.
and just wanted to make sure that, like, this doesn't sound like it's gonna drastically change their work, and it's just making sure that they're comfortable with this change too.
Yes.
Any other questions? Any questions from members of the public? If you are still on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, you can use chat or raise hand. Okay. Not hearing concerns, would someone like to make a motion to approve this budget adjustment?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Thomas, second by Charlie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. On to item B, another budget adjustment for St. Michael's College Fire and Rescue Support.
All right, as council knows, in the fiscal year 2024 budget, we included $37,000 to support the mutual aid with St. Mike's College Fire and Rescue. During the budget process, that was refined, and rather than providing direct financial contribution, the city is going to continue to allow St. Michael's to utilize our diesel at the Public Works garage. In order to facilitate that and have an actual number that we're tracking, we are going to use some of the $37,000 to purchase a diesel fuel tracking system. It will actually help us better manage internally as well between the departments as to who's using the diesel and make sure that it's not going out the door anywhere it shouldn't be. It's dyed diesel, so it needs to be properly controlled. So the request is moving the funds from the professional services line item in the fire department to diesel in the fire department, professional services in the streets department for the software services that will be used for the diesel tracking system, and into capital for the purchase of the system itself. These are based on quotes that were received by the Public Works Director.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
Very excited to hear about this investment.
Any questions for members of the public? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this budget adjustment?
So moved.
Motion by Bryn, second by Thomas. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are on to item C, position authorization for part-time fire inspector firefighter.
Good evening.
Hello?
Welcome.
All right, I'm going to be up here quite a bit tonight. So this first part, we're looking to approve or have council approve the position scope as well as the description for a part-time fire inspector, firefighter position. John, would you like to talk about the purpose of the position?
Sure. This is intended to be an entry-level fire inspector, but also dual role as a firefighter. We anticipate the position working the days that our other staff do not, so we'd be covered 5 days a week with at least 2 plus the chief during the day during the business hours, Monday through Friday at the firehouse. That's when we do most of our inspections. So the big lift of their work is to learn inspections, get into the community risk reduction, that sort of thing. So this is anticipated to be a 28-hour part-time position, with obvious room for growth in the future.
Forgive me if I am misremembering, but is this adding a new role or re-leveling something that was existing in your staffing structure?
So with the code, with the parking and the piece that we just heard going to PD, division has always been previous councils, previous administration was those positions would supplement code, and we had hoped that they would be dual firefighters. Why are we writing parking tickets if something's burning in the city type, and we couldn't get there when, with the union and just there was too many details to too many barriers to try to figure out. So that never really came to fruition. So with the change, with the code position, that lump of money, again, cost neutral, was looked at of how can we continue to support an existing and valued employee in the parking, still be on the outskirts of code, not as heavily involved as we had envisioned in years past, but still involved. And then how do we supplement that, the deeper dive, if you will, for the code, and that's what this is aimed at.
And is this already built into the budget for FY23, or is this a new?
So this is cost neutral from the adjustments of the 2 30-hour positions that came with benefits. And again, we looked at the money, how do we keep the valued employee whole, still do some part-time evening parking, shift that to PD, and then what was left, we looked at, all right, how can I now apply that to community risk reduction, and this is where we've landed.
I have to say that it's hard to explain verbally, but the staff has done this magic trick of creating more people to do more work with the same amount of money.
It does sound like magic, so
it is,
I'm glad you explained it.
I've never been called a magician.
And this is actually adding some more inspection capacity, right? This is actually adding some more capacity for inspection?
Yes.
Beyond what we've had to date?
Yes.
That's good. Part of the magic.
Yeah, no, and then the part that, I'm excited about is it's entry level. It's going to give somebody an opportunity to, hopefully we can, build a relationship with someone that can turn into future here and serve Winooski. And, that's as exciting as doing more inspections. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Are there other questions from council?
Sure. Just a human resources question, I guess. You said it's part-time.
It's part-time, 28 hours.
I know that not just here, but in many places, part-time positions have been hard to fill. So do you have ears on the ground that you think this might be an easy position to fill part-time?
I anticipate this position to be easier to fill than the trouble we've been having with getting the supplemental code enforcement position. At 28 hours at part-time with a chance for growth as well as a chance to learn starting at entry level, as well as a pretty set schedule, this is going to be much easier to fill than the previous positions we've tried.
Great. Love that.
I do think we need to watch, again, we always want to support someone to further their career. And this should be looked at by some folks that want to, whether we're prepared to keep them when they get as far as they can go in Winooski, which we accept, right? We're helping somebody get to where they need to be and better themselves, but we're also getting some more service for Winooski. So I suspect that will be the case.
Great.
Until Winooski's ready to expand upon that.
Do you feel like you have the capacity to train and onboard somebody who's?
Yeah, so it's easy for me, right? It's really gonna land with the fire marshal. So we're in a really good place, technically and with knowledge and years of experience with, Chief Palmer. He knows the codes, he's very, very good at it, so I'm very comfortable that, working the off days where it's more one-on-one time with Chief Palmer, this person will be very successful.
Do you do any, I remember approving a budget for quite a bit of training for the safety services. Is there anticipated to be a portion of the budget to pay for additional training or classroom time or?
Yeah, so there's always opportunities. Chief Palmer's at the National Fire Academy for a week. That's free. We just have to get him there by a meal plan. So room and board is free. He's there for a week. He's with his peers from around the country, and he's there for code-specific stuff this week. So there's local stuff. The Division of Fire Safety does a class every month. That's usually virtual. So there'll be lots of opportunities.
Okay, great.
Any other council questions? Any questions for members of the public? Again, if you're on Zoom, chat or raise hand. Okay. Once again, hearing no concerns, would someone like to make a motion to approve this position authorization?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Aurora, second by Thomas. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. I suppose you're both staying up here for item D. Fire Department compensation plan.
All right, so with this one, we're looking to make an update for the part-time and per diem firefighter compensation plan. Really, we're just looking to approve the policy as adjusted. Most changes are clarifications when it comes to codifying what we're currently doing, current practice, such as the duty weekend schedule. The dollar amount for duty weekend pay was removed to allow more flexibility to adapt year to year through the budget process as the budget changes each year. One significant change proposed is to increase the training pay for per diem staff to match their response pay. Previously, the per diem was minimum wage, but now we're wanted to match what they're currently making because it incentivizes them to stay for the training instead of coming back and making less than they normally would for the per diem. And because of the volume of the edits, the current and proposed version are included, they were included in the packet, and rather than one version with all the changes, which could be a little confusing.
Okay.
I guess, Chief, do you like the the proposals?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was a huge part of, the 2018, when I came here, it was super important to, it was one of the things that the team, the leadership team and then council worked on to create an incentivized pay plan, in an effort to try to recruit and retain the valued part-time folks. We rely heavily on them. And when I say heavily, I mean like a third of what we do, if not more, is, our part-time folks. And so having a compensation plan that's relevant, we went too long. This shouldn't go, this big of a span, and not be looked at. And I think we made some tweaks that, through the budgeting process, we present our budgets in detail enough of, for this part, the part-time line item in our budget. I have very in-depth conversations with Angela about what makes up that part-time line item, right? And I can tell you, what our training nights cost. I can tell you what our call response costs. We can break that down. So through that process, it allows us to stay really current. And it's not getting any easier to keep folks, right? And, a duty weekend, a full duty weekend is 36 hours of someone's time to be available. And when you look at it and you break it down, you're paying them about $3.50 an hour to be available. So we want to stay relevant, right? And our staff is very appreciative. In 2017, they were getting like $20 for the weekend. And through what we've supported, what you all have supported, and if this goes tonight, it's like at $120 for the weekend for the officer. It's a lot of responsibility, right? I mean, they're keeping their certs, they're being available, but that person has a ton of responsibility when that pager goes off, and you are trusting them to have the capacity and the ability to make good decisions on our behalf. And we're lucky that this model is still going for Winooski. It's not in other places.
Thank you.
The compensation changes and a lot of the tweaking in here all made sense to me. I had 2 questions, a little more technical. Thinking about recruitment, you've specified in here that anyone living or working within 5 minutes of Winooski may apply.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered, I don't know, I'd just like to hear more about, like, we've had trouble recruiting, if somebody is 6 minutes away, would we really not hire them?
So it's real simple, right? We get the address, and I run that address 5 or 6 times, different times of the day. You submit an application, you say, yep, I'm 5 minutes from the firehouse. Well, that may be on a non-traffic, right? So that 5 minutes could go to 9 minutes, and it happens. And for instance, I looked at our numbers just so I could really try to piece this together. We do a tremendous job as far as to think about someone's available and they're 5 minutes from here, and then a truck gets on the road in 8 minutes. So if you think about the 911 call has come in, now it's hitting us, that person's gotten to the station, and that truck's on scene generally in 8 minutes. That's kind of okay, right? I mean, that's kind of, I can process that information. There are instances that we are 10, 13, 14 minutes. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's where we need to be. A lot can happen. This is not a rural community. This is an urban, very dense community. A sprinkler pipe on the 6th floor, 14 minutes of pumping XYG gallons a minute. We have to get somebody there. So it is a constant balance of, and we don't have as many people that live in Winooski anymore. It wasn't long ago you had 22 people on a roster. We're down to 11, 12 people. So we have to be very careful not to get that imbalance. So you have to draw the line somewhere. And I have chosen 5 minutes, and I run that. And that's on an average that I run 5 or 6 times. We just did it with 2 applications.
Mm-hmm.
The representation is in 5 minutes. Well, I ran it at 6:45, and it was over 9 minutes, just due to traffic, right? So it's real time. And you think about, you can't wait 9 minutes in an emergency. So we have to draw the line somewhere. What I would say is, I agree, it becomes a barrier for us for recruitment and performance, right? And that will be part of our future conversation of having sleeping quarters and investing in that type of facility, amenities in our facility that, you may live 9 minutes away, but you may be able to give me a Saturday or 2 Saturdays a month, and we can change our system so that works, and people can contribute in other ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I appreciate hearing that context and having that for the public as well. The second thing I wanted to ask about was the high school diploma GED requirement, and if that really feels necessary, or if that, could be a barrier to some of our residents being able to apply for these roles.
So again, you have to create a baseline, and what I would tell you is firefighting is not like it used to be, and again, this is not rural Vermont. This is a very sometimes very complicated city as far as its systems by virtue of density in some of our structures. So even at the very basic entry level of firefighting, there's basic chemistry, basic math, terminology, that a high school diploma or equal to GED will help that person be successful.
Is there like an equivalency though for somebody outside of the U.S. education system?
So not generally in the fire service. And I've thought a lot about this because Elaine sent it on Friday, so I burned quite a bit of bandwidth on it, right? And I believe and I support, and that's why I like being here, is we're always pushing that envelope. And I would feel very differently if we were resourced differently. You start to create an imbalance in your teams, and it's not fair to that person. It's not fair to their safety and or their success if we can't. There's a lot of work that goes into, if they don't have that baseline, we've got to figure out other ways to get them there, and that's usually one-on-one time. That's usually getting them immersed in a company, in a group of 3, 4, 5 firefighters on a regular basis, where they can on-the-job training, right? And in my mind, that's how you overcome not having that education, but we don't have the resources to do it. We're trying to do some of that now, but who's doing that? That's the inspectors that have got 6 inspections for the day. There's no resources to do it currently. Or duty weekend, it just you're asking part-time employees to take on more responsibility to do that, and that's just not they're not going to be successful, and they worry about their safety. So.
Okay.
It felt to me like what Christine was asking wasn't like, can we allow people that don't have a GED or some kind of equivalency to take on that role, but more so, how can we accommodate people proving that they are proficient enough without them having that specific diploma or equivalent diploma? And you made it clear there's not some kind of industry standard. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. The idea isn't that people that don't have the type of skills that we need, but how do they prove that they have those skills without having that piece of paper? So. And
that's why I say resources, right? And I mean people resources, or having, that expertise on staff that can work more one-on-one on the job.
Are there additional questions?
I had a question. I must have misunderstood something in the opening presentation. There aren't section numbers on this for me to refer to, but on bottom page 4, page 5, I thought that you had mentioned that you were going to take out like some of the hourly compensation for per diem to give flexibility.
So the per diem is set, and it has to be for a couple different reasons. What we were referring to taking out is the duty weekend pay.
Okay.
That got pulled out.
Okay.
Because that's what will change more than the per diem. The per diem's a kind of set rate. They're available shifts, but we're talking more of the part-time on-call folks that are doing the full duty weekends and how we compensate them.
Okay. All right. I'm glad I asked.
Yep. Thank you.
Good. I noticed that the per diem doesn't have that 5-minute requirement, or at least I didn't see that in the definition.
So the per diem is, every 2 weeks we set the per diem shifts available, and they're at the firehouse.
Okay.
So this isn't available from a distance. They're in the firehouse. They pick the shifts they want. Kind of, that's how per diem works.
Okay.
I can't tell them, I can't tell John Adi every day he's going to work this day and these hours. You put these shifts out and they take them, they're pre-qualified, and then they come do those shifts.
All right, that's helpful context. And this is something that I must have missed in reading, because I was looking at a lot of these rates between the two documents and they look the same, and I had some similar concerns about recruiting. But is that just the skill-based pay between the two have remained the same? So the additional amount per hour?
So I'm sorry, I'm missing what you're asking, I'm sorry.
The base gets escalated, so the base pay for a new firefighter is minimum wage, and if with every cert, they get that additional pay on top of minimum wage. So they all get pay increases in January when minimum wage goes up, and if they achieve a certification.
Right, and previously it was,
minimum wage, but it was specified as $10.50 in the.
gotcha, okay, so that
So we
was
took that specific, that's where the 1050 came from, we took that specific out, and we're referring to minimum wage, and I think by federal law, we have to, that changes every year, however it's set, and we have to follow that, so that's an automatic escalator.
I have another question, which may seem like an obvious answer, but do you anticipate any budget adjustments resulting from these changes?
No.
Okay.
Anything else from council? Any questions from the public? Okay. Again, I'm not really hearing concerns. Does someone want to approve the fire department compensation plan? Make a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Seconded?
Motion by Thomas, second by Charlie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you're dismissed, Chief.
You gonna stay?
Oh, I gotta say.
Yeah. Jesse will stay with us for item E, the personnel policy manual, time off cash out policy addendum.
Yep, I'm looking to seek an addendum to our personnel policy manual with a cash out policy. This kind of mirrors what's already established in the FOP contract that we have with them. So the employees can benefit from the ability to cash out unused time off to help them deal with unforeseen, unusual, or unfortunate situation. Some calamities happen to them and they need some financial help from that. Restricting the type of time off to what the employee would likely be owed in any case limits the city's exposure. For example, the city expects employees to take their combined time off, and in case of a resignation, this time would be converted to pay and paid out to the employee, whereas sick time would not be. Because we do not want employees we do want employees to take their time off. We're limiting this to once per year, every rolling 12 months.
Yeah, so we're encouraging them to use their time off and
Yes,
also
but they have this
discouraging-
available
Yeah.
if they need it.
And you can't just bank your time off for 10 years and then suddenly cash out a boatload of money.
Correct.
We cap out at 240 hours.
Oh, okay.
There's a cap. I've been at that cap for about a year.
I was gonna say, we have some long-term employees that could be pretty,
And there are checks and
Pretty thanks.
balances in there. It's at the suggestion of their department manager, discretion of city manager, human resources, and the finance director as well.
Good.
Will there be a cap of how many days or hours they could cash out for each year?
We had a brief discussion about that. I don't know that, it's for in like an emergency, so I don't know that we really need to do that.
Yep.
I think there would be some discussion though, in terms of discretion. It's like, are you sure you want to do this? You're not gonna have any sick time, for
Okay.
example, if, so the discretion is in there so we can have those discussions, but I didn't want to limit it because of, if somebody really has something pressing, would we really dictate how they were using it? I don't know that I would.
Thank you.
So I'm assuming this is not part of contract negotiations.
Correct. This is personnel policy, so it applies to non-union staff.
I see.
As written, wouldn't apply to non-union staff,
I see. All things,
or to union staff,
all
sorry.
things being risk averse, how many employees could this be for per year?
Leadership team plus currently 3. Yeah. Plus 4, okay.
So is that 8 people, 10 people?
In the front, and Rachel.
So 11,
13 people?
what about community services?
Zara,
Robin?
ops managers.
Ops managers, I missed them, okay.
So in terms of a
Yeah.
budget amount,
So maybe 20 people.
if all dozen or so eligible staff
Hmm.
opted to take advantage of this,
So there's a
What-
provision in the, yes, good question. There's a provision in there that says also subject to budget availability. So that's some of the discretion, the conversation with the finance director.
and what fund would it come from?
It would depend on where the employee is currently working. And so in some cases, like the wastewater plant that are full accrual basis, there actually wouldn't be an impact to an annual budget, because we book, any earned time off as a liability every year.
And is that recommended by our auditors?
That is required by accounting standards to book the liability. We don't do that in the general fund because you don't recognize long-term liabilities in fund accounting, but we do book it in our fund-wide financial statements.
Okay. One more question. Why is this coming to us now?
There was a situation.
There was a situation
I would
that
imagine.
prompted us to look at whether we wanted to do something more consistently for all staff and not just based on somebody thinking to ask.
Are you good?
I am, thank you.
I am wondering, in the world of dreaming things up, so say we've had several staff who've taken advantage of this, and you look at the budget and you kind of realize that we're at the max of staff that we can offer this to, but then somebody comes forward and they have a reason that you would normally approve if the budget was available. What would be the process for, or would there be a process for seeing if you can continue to approve it, even though the budget isn't where Angela would like it to be?
Well, that's a good question, and it does bring up an equity problem, right? Like generally, if you do things open until filled or in, rolling basis, that it creates equity problems. However, these are emergencies. It's the trade-off. Like you can't make it available for an emergency, but say you have to tell us by a certain time in order to be considered. So we just have to do our best, I think is the answer.
This is meant to be for extreme circumstances that somebody should not have foreseen. So this is not, I need a down payment for my house. This is, somebody needed emergency surgery and I can't pay the donut hole that our HRA doesn't cover.
Right, or you're burying someone, all of the expensive things that could come up. That makes sense.
Yeah. We actually had the word unforeseeable in there and I took it out, but that would be one of the things that I would be looking at, like how unforeseeable is this?
I mean, that goes, you have unforeseen, unforeseeable. Close. And then unfortunate. I mean, it's a lot of discretion in there. Pros and cons of having that flexibility, but also curious if that opens to any challenge.
Oh, what do you mean by challenge?
Like if it were to be denied, not based on budgetary availability, but because that's
I guess
just not
anything is
unfortunate.
possible. It does,
Or
like,
unfortunate. Yeah. Right. I see what you're
that's
saying.
fair. I mean, anyone can bring a grievance. It does say at discretion, that's my attempt to cover that, but some of it might be experiment, right? Like, we might do it a few times and then find that there was a better way to refine it. I have seen this in my old municipality, and to me, it's actually a morale booster. There is an emergency fund of sorts that you earned. So hopefully people can see it as a benefit, not just as an entitlement.
And this is a little more restrictive actually than what is in the current FOP contract. The current FOP contract allows them to cash out up to 80 hours of vacation time every quarter. Period. No reason.
And I'm sure this isn't here, but just to reiterate it, so is this for all earned leave or just?
Just CTO.
Okay, right.
there's already a provision within the non-union personnel policy that allows the cash out of comp time for our hourly employees who can convert their overtime. So this would be basically opening up the ability to cash in time to your exempt staff that are salary and can't get comp time.
Okay.
Right, so Florida time isn't paid out anywhere, so we don't have that in, and sick time is never banked, so.
Does
As Jesse
CTO
said.
accrue overtime? It's not like granted upon hire.
No, it's not
So-
one lump sum, it's accrued over every pay period.
I wanted to
That's
be
a good
sure
question.
before I vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a great question.
Mhm.
Because if someone could work here for, you know, maybe past, if we have a probationary period, I probably should know, I don't know, but if someone's here for 90 days, they could cash out however many hours, it said like 280 max out over years.
240 is our max, but
So, but it
it's
has
not
to
what you
occur.
earn when you start.
Right, exactly, and that would be a number that I would ask for if it was.
But
you know,
like,
the
rather
case,
than a
so.
lump sum upfront, which is not necessarily uncommon.
Yeah.
I
It
think
just depends
a
on the
new hire
HR
earns
structure.
5.54 hours of CTO every pay period.
Okay.
And then your leadership staff, some of the ones who've been here years, 13.68 per pay period.
And the amount that they can cash out is only what's been accrued, right? There isn't like
It's-
taking on loan?
No.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Any other council questions? Any questions for members of the public on Zoom? No more in the room? Okay, does someone want to make a motion to approve the personnel policy manual combined time off cash out policy addendum?
So moved.
Motion by Thomas, second by Charlie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Jesse.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys.
We are at the end of tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bryn, second by Charlie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.